learn how to teach online music lessons during the COVID-19 pandemic. And let me tell you, technology can be a bit of a scary thing. And we've got some great stories to share with you today, and also some really helpful tips. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many of us music teachers have been forced to look for alternative ways to teach music online and continue to be supportive and to have fun with lessons. I think our job as music educators is to now teach music online to keep students motivated with their very important musicianship skills, and just to stay really, really positive. And that's why we're here today. I'm Gloria St. Germain from Ultimate Music Theory, and I too have been teaching piano and music theory online, and the results have been fantastic. And I want to share some of those resources with you today. And I am so excited and grateful to introduce my very special guest, Dr. Melody Payne. And welcome, Melody.
Thank you so much, Glory. I am so excited to be here to have a great conversation with you about online teaching.
Absolutely. Before we got started and on our interview today, we too had some technology issues, and Dr. Melody Payne, who is our special guest today, and I want to introduce her formally, but throughout this, it was so impressive. She was just remaining calm and said, well, that's why we're here today, and this happens. And so honestly, it's just a lesson in don't stress, just figure out how it's all going to work. So Dr. Melody Payne, NCTM, teaches piano and theory lessons in the mountains of Southwest Virginia, and she enjoys helping other teachers, including me, create the studios they've always wanted to so they can live their best piano teaching lives. And she loves writing relevant articles for today's piano teacher, and she has just amazing resources for you. And also she's authoring kid-friendly research-based music teaching resources and teaching her own private piano students, both locally and online. So thank you so much for joining me today, Melody. I really appreciate it.
It is a pleasure to be here. It truly, truly is. And especially with what we're going through in the world right now, I think it's especially important that we have this conversation about teaching piano lessons online.
Yes. And today, I think you're right, Melody. It is very necessary. Our conversation really affects, our lives, and the effects of the coronavirus, not only on our lives, but on our teaching, on our music teaching studios. So we need to learn how to teach online music lessons due to that, COVID-19. Even if you've never taught online lessons before and you don't even know where to start until now.
That's right.
So thanks for guiding us through this, Melody. I know we're really going to learn a lot. And I think due to the urgency of not having in-studio lessons, let's start by sort of addressing what can we do? Where do we start? How do we maintain? How do we keep our full teaching studio? And really there is opportunity to actually increase our student load as more and more students are sitting at home looking for activities to fill their time. So we've got a lot of questions, but let's start with just one thing at a time. So if we have no knowledge of teaching online, how do we get started? What's step one?
Well, the first thing we need to remember, and Marie Forleo said it, everything is figure outable.
Right.
And what we need to keep remembering is that we can figure this out. It may seem foreign, it may seem strange, but we can figure out how to do this. Yeah. And there's also a quote that I love by Arthur Ashe: start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So those quotes pretty much perfectly sum up my personal philosophy on teaching online piano lessons. And teachers, I know many of you may already have a laptop or an iPad and high-speed internet in your home. So you can begin teaching piano lessons online right away with those few simple tools. If you have an Apple product, such as a MacBook Pro, which is what I'm on today, or an iMac, an iPad, an iPhone, then you can teach piano lessons online with FaceTime if your student has also an Apple product and can have the FaceTime communication with you. FaceTime is already installed on your device, so you don't even need to download anything. All you have to do is make sure your student's contact information is in your particular device, and then FaceTime your student at your lesson time. Teaching online lessons really can be that easy.
Yeah, it really can. And Melody, I actually love Marie Forleo. I'm a big fan of hers. And I love that. Everything is figure outable. As you and I experienced today, it's saying, okay, well, what's option one? What's option B? And that's really why we're here today. And so before I go on to this next question, I just want to say to our viewers that are watching today, go ahead and share in the chat box with us, what are your struggles? What is your success story? How can we serve you? How can we help you in your online learning and setting up your thing? I have a couple of questions here. We've got a few coming in. Christopher, who says, just when cold turkey, went to online lessons this week, it was pretty scary. And absolutely it is, Christopher. I've ended up teaching 2 out of 6 scheduled, but those 2 went really well. That's excellent. Dawood said, I'm very bad with timing any device. Yeah, and I think sometimes things can be scary, but we're going to walk you through that today. So hang around and hopefully we'll give you some good tips today. So let's talk a little bit about, yes, go ahead and answer your questions. You're struggling with timekeeping. Right. We're going to address that too. Thanks for being here live with us today. So Melody, what if we have a PC or a Mac? Maybe let's talk a little bit about the differences on that, because I know you're a Mac and I'm a PC. So
Right.
I'll sort of address the issues that you've come across.
Well, if you have a PC, then FaceTime isn't something that you'll have access to on your PC or Android devices. But what you can use is Zoom or Skype or Google. Sorry, not Google. I just lost it. But there are tons of other things that you can use. I've heard some teachers say that they've taught online piano lessons using WhatsApp. So there are just so many different programs and apps that you can use. But Skype is a very popular one, and that's what I started teaching online piano lessons on years ago. And it's a video conferencing tool. It allows you to make face-to-face calls online, and it's a free download. You can download it to a PC or to a Mac. And once you sign in and connect with your students, then you're able to teach online piano lessons that way. Very easy. And another popular one is called Zoom. And that one is becoming incredibly popular among piano teachers, especially in the last week or two. It's another video conferencing tool that can be used on both your Mac and your PC. And Glory, I know you use Zoom a lot. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, Melody. I am a PC girl, and I do use Zoom, and I also use Be Live, which of course is the platform that we're using today for our interview. And you're right about Skype too. So I will just sort of address the Zoom issue here, because Zoom really is an easy platform to do scheduling on. I actually did a YouTube video on how to use Zoom, how to get started. I really walk you through it. So you can just go ahead to our Ultimate Music Theory Facebook, or well, it's on Facebook too, but Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel, and you can see it there. Using Zoom is great for both PC and Mac users. And it doesn't matter if you are if you set up your Zoom meeting on your PC, which is what I do, and your student has a Mac or an iPad, it will easily work on both platforms. So that really is the beauty of using Zoom. You can go in there, share your screen, and have the chat options as well. So Melody, what do you suggest now? So now we've connected on whatever platform we're using, Facebook or Zoom or the other platform you mentioned, FaceTime, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
What do we do now if we don't have a copy of our students' music?
Well, all of this online teaching has happened so quickly, and it's a lot of times we might not have a piece of our students' music right in front of us because we've had to make the switch immediately. But I'll hold up this giant flashcard and imagine that it's this, I'm the student and this is my music. Right. So you could hold it up, the student could hold it up like this,
Yes.
and you could take a picture of it with your phone.
Yes.
And that would be a very easy way in a pinch to have a copy of your students' music if you needed to see a copy of what's going on. And another idea is if you know how to take a screenshot, if your student holds up the music, you could take a screenshot. So on a Mac, you would hold Shift, Command, and 4 all at the same time. And then this special little cursor will pop up, and you just drag that cursor across the screen to take a screenshot of whatever you would like a picture of. And then it would generally save to your desktop, and then you just click it and open it like any other photograph.
Right.
If you're on an iPhone, then you will press the 2 side buttons to take a screenshot. And if you have a different device or an older iPhone or whatever you might have, a tablet, just do a quick Google search, and that can tell you how to take a screenshot on your device. But if you do that after the lesson, make sure to go and order a copy of all of your students' music, so you'll have it for future lessons, and so that all of those publishers and composers are getting the royalties and the income that they also need too. So Glory, on your computer, you're a PC and a person, and I obviously don't use a PC. We've mentioned that a few times before. I'm very proud of my Apple products, which I love, but I don't know how to do a screenshot on a PC. How would you do that?
Yes. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions that are coming in that are Christopher was asking, in order to set up our Zoom teaching, does our student need to have the Zoom app? Like, do they have to set up an account? And the answer is no. That's the beauty of it. So if you are teaching online using the Zoom platform, you create your own account. It's free. Go watch the YouTube video I did. It's on Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel. You'll see it's right there. And I walk you through every step, setting up a free account, how to connect it to your student. It's super simple. Your students, you just send them the link. Just as you clicked on this link to join us in our interview today, you send your students that one link, they click it, doesn't matter what device they're on. They can do it on their phone, on their PC, on their Mac, on their iPad, anywhere at all. They don't need to have anything. So I hope that answered your question, Christopher. So now to go back to what we've been talking about here, Melody. So yes. So I ask the same thing of my student. So when I am teaching, I ask them to hold up the music so that I can see it too. So on a PC, you can use the snipping tool called Snip and Sketch. So Snip and Sketch, it lets you capture the exact image from your screen. So you don't need the whole picture. So for example, if I just want the image of the music. So for example, I was doing my theory club class, and I was having my students play some of the music because, of course, we're all being innovative. So I would simply, same as you, hold it up. Hope you can see it. And then I would just snip this little part, and I would say, okay, now take that up to the piano, or now I can see what they're having. I mean, I happen obviously to have the theory books, but for the music books, and same as you, Melody, I literally went from seeing my students in a live class to going, guess what? Now next week, your lessons are online. So we didn't have a chance to even copy their homework or anything else. So I think do what you can, and holding it up is just an easy way, but that's another way that you could. For those doing more advanced music, I think you definitely want to have the music in front of you. Another thing that you can do is to share your screen through Zoom or Skype. So if you have a PDF copy of the music or a worksheet, you can simply share your screen. So if you're teaching music theory and you have downloaded the answer books, I literally just share my screen and say to my students, okay, these are the answers. Did you get those right? What did you struggle with? So now, how do you have your students take a screenshot of the music to send you? Like, what are some other options that we could maybe explore? Like, we can take a screenshot on our end, but what can our students do?
Our students could take a picture. For example, if they are working on, say, a worksheet and they have answered all the questions, they could take a picture, send you the picture. And so they can send it through text message. They could send it through an email to you. Facebook Messenger would work after they take that picture. WhatsApp would work. There's so many different ways that our tech savvy students can send a picture to you. So what I would do is just ask your student, what's the easiest way for you to send a picture to me?
Right.
And let them decide if there's something that you both have in common, like Facebook Messenger or something like that. Then that'll be a really easy way to get some information to you from their end.
Right. And so now when we have, I think we're doing a great job here, Melody. We've talked about let's just reach out and honor ourselves and all of the teachers that have moved to online teaching. Like, celebrate your success. You're learning something new. And I think what's interesting here is that we expect our students to learn something new every week when they come to music class. And yet, as educators, we're like, oh, I've never done that, I'm afraid. But, well, you know what, people? This is a lesson for you to say, I'm learning something new. So now we've talked about, the platforms we can use to connect and hear and see our students. And we've talked about how to get a screenshot and how to get the music. So now let's talk about the lesson, right? So what's the best way to see my students playing so that I know what are they doing?
Well, it's definitely important to see what our students are doing, for sure. For me, while it is important to see what our students are doing, I think it's really important that we can hear what they're doing. So teaching online can actually be a really great ear training refresher for teachers. Funny story, I actually was teaching an online lesson several years ago through FaceTime, and for some reason our devices kept freezing. The screen would freeze. So we tried and we hung up and restarted the call several times, but I could always hear the student. I just couldn't see. So finally I said, you know what? We'll just finish this lesson and I'll just teach it by ear. So we finished the lesson that way, and the mom was super impressed. How could you do that? I said, well, all my music theory lessons from college definitely came in handy and served me well on that day. But it's definitely important to be able to both hear them and see them. So what they could do is, and you can see the view of us right here, and I'm sitting at my piano, is to have them set up their device so that you can see a similar view of what you're seeing of me right now. And of course, adjust it a little bit, height, width, whatever you need, but have them place their device on a table, or mine's on a music stand right now. I've had parents stack up a pile of cardboard boxes and put their iPad on top and send me a picture afterwards, and it was hilarious. Yeah. So use your imagination, and just as long as their device is, I would say, about eye level or so that it can look slightly down on the keys and you can see it, then I think you would be good to go. And then your students would need a similar profile as my particular favorite profile view of you, so that they can see if you need to hold up some flashcards or whatever it is that you're working on with them, a game or an iPad game or something. So just make sure that they have a really good view of you that's very clear, and make sure that you have a really good view of them. So once you're comfortable with that, and for that, you don't have to buy anything. Use whatever you have around your house, a small table, a side table, a chest, anything you have. So once you're comfortable with the very, very basics, then you may want to invest in something like an iPad stand if you teach from an iPad, and that would just hold your iPad in place right here on the stand. And then you would have a little bit more control over the height and the angle and the placement of your iPad. And your students could also do the same, so that you could have better views of your student and what your student's doing. But it's really very simple. Keep it very simple, and just as long as you're comfortable with what you see and your student is comfortable seeing you, then you're off to a great start.
And I love your story, Melody, about not being able to see and just simply hear. We talk a lot about technology today, but I remember when my student came in and there was a power outage. And so it was, I just was starting my day, it was on a Saturday, so it was light out and there was lots of sun coming in. And so of course it was lit. And so I taught piano lessons all day, just with daylight and with the keys, and everyone else was shutting down. Like, you couldn't get grocery, you couldn't do anything. And I thought, well, so there's always a way. So it was just, the only thing I had was my ears. But Yeah, so that's an option too, right? I think one of the things that you really struck a chord with me was, the KISS method. Keep it super simple. And as I've been talking to teachers, and they're like, well, now I have to go and
keep it simple.
Amazon, order a mic, order this stand, I don't have that. And everybody nowadays has some kind of device. So even if you're just doing a FaceTime, or even a phone call, right? You can see a lesson. It's better than nothing. So
you sure can.
Yeah. And I think as I was teaching online this week, I found it worked really well for my students to see me not only in a lesson, but to see me because I'm their friend, and it reassures them that I'm okay. And I get to see their practice environment as well. And I think that in many cases, I actually got to meet their pets, There's my cat. So how do you feel for audio? So we talked about seeing them. So what about audio for both parties to hear the music?
I have found that it depends on a lot of factors as to how good your audio is going to be. A lot of it can depend on your internet speed. It can depend on your device or the age of your device, or even something completely out of your control, how many other people are online at the same time you're trying to teach. So there's a lot of competition for bandwidth these days. But for me personally and for my students, we find that the audio of FaceTime is really good. And I know some people would disagree with that. And again, like I said, it depends on a number of factors. But for us, FaceTime has been very good for us. And as a matter of fact, one of my students played so musically this week during her FaceTime lesson that I was literally having tears well up in my eyes. It was just so beautiful. And that actually taught me a lesson about the sound quality through an online lesson, that it really can be amazing. And I know a lot of teachers worry about that. What if I can't hear dynamics? What if I can't demonstrate dynamics? But in my experience, when we used FaceTime this week, it was wonderful. And I was simply using FaceTime on my Mac, and my student was simply using FaceTime with her iPad. Neither one of us had an external speaker plugged in or mics for this particular lesson. So the audio can be really good without adding anything special if you just go with what's already in your device.
Right.
So on Skype, in my personal experience, the audio isn't as good as FaceTime.
Yeah.
Now, again, some teachers have a lot of success with Skype, maybe even more so than FaceTime. So again, it just depends on a lot of factors, but it still works really well. And it obviously won't be as good as in-person lessons. And of course, we're all working on dealing with that and trying to adapt and adjust to that. But it's a viable and easy tool to use for teaching online lessons. It's easy to get going, like we mentioned earlier. So, Glory, you are the Zoom expert of the two of us. So what could you say about the audio of Zoom?
Yes, Melody, it's funny. We're like a tag team here.
Did I just call you Gloria?
I hope not.
Oh my, if I did, I apologize. Glory.
Well, okay, segue story. So my name is Glory with a Y, and
yes.
I was born on Christmas Day, and my mother was going to call me Holly, Carol, or Glory, as in, Holly, like Christmas Holly, or a Christmas Carol, or a glory to God, So anyway, I got Glory. So that's the story of Glory. But
I love that.
And don't you have the perfect name, Melody, right? Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
Right. A funny story about my name is that when I was in graduate school, I went to Louisiana State University, and they have a community music program there. And there were a couple of us graduate students who were the directors of that program as part of our graduate assistantships while we were in grad school. And we would always answer the phone, Music Academy, this is whichever one of us answered the phone. So one day I answered the phone, Music Academy, this is Melody. And, this is when we used to hold phones like this. Music Academy, this is Melody. And there was just a second of silence. And then she said, you're kidding, right? So no, that's really my name, Music Academy, this is Melody.
Oh, that's funny. Well, it is a perfect name, and I just so enjoyed just our chat and getting to know you as we were having our technology issues. And sometimes I think when we have struggles, it's really when we rise to the occasion to say, well, you have two choices. You can either become defeated and just say, I can't do this, it's not working, be the pessimistic one in the family, haha. Or you can rise up, as they say, and help people. And I think that's really why we're here today. And I must say that during this time when everything is new for both teachers and students concerned about the coronavirus and how they're going to cope with the ongoing news. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic, we're almost like sick of hearing about it, and yet we can't stop finding out more about it. But I think the most important thing about online teaching at this time is to bring joy into the online lessons. And using Zoom, I find the audio to be adequate for teaching. I want to say, remember this, we're not recording an album for sale here.
True, absolutely.
It's just simply a way of teaching, encouraging our students to practice and enjoy learning. I've seen in a lot of the forums, the audio is not good enough, or you'll need these speakers. I'm like, no, I have everything from little 6-year-olds to, my university students, and they're just happy to see me. They're just happy to keep playing. And I've kind of said to them, it's almost funny, Melody, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, that sometimes my students say, well, I couldn't practice this week at a basketball tournament, and then I had hockey, and then I had this, and then I had that. And now I'm like, well, baby, no excuses. I can imagine how awesome you're going to be when you are playing this, practicing. Like, what else are you going to do? And I think parents, I shared, I think with you earlier, or maybe I didn't tell you this story, but I had one parent who actually said, is there any way we could do lessons twice a week? And she's got 3 kids and all 3 take piano lessons with me. She said, because they have nothing to do. They're bored. So this is really an opportunity to say, well, if you're okay doubling your lessons, like, are you okay paying extra? She said, oh, absolutely. Like anything, just get them out of my hair for, so please, I'll pay you double, just take them. But anyway, so I think we do have an opportunity here. I guess one of the questions that teachers are often wondering, and we've got some comments coming in too that I'm going to address, but the question often is do I need a special microphone?
And the answer to that is no, you do not need a special microphone. I'm using a microphone today. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it real quickly.
Pretty. Oh, okay. We'll have Mike show and tell. Come on, Melody.
Is that the snowball? Is that the Blue Yeti snowball? Yes, mine's the Blue Yeti. So our mics are related to one another. You don't have to have one though. I don't always use one when I'm teaching online, but today, we wanted to make sure our audio was as good for all of you teachers as it possibly could be. So we're using our microphones, but you don't have to have one for online teaching. You really don't. If you want to improve the quality of the audio that your student hears, then of course, by all means, you can get one. This is just a plug and play. It's USB. You just plug it right in, but you really don't need a special one. And I would just recommend, once you're getting started, if you've never taught online before and you just want to keep it very simple, just use the built-in mic and speakers on your device, your computer or your iPad, whatever you're teaching on.
Right.
And then later on, as you start to feel more confident and you want to branch out and try a few different resources, a microphone or webcam or whatever, then you could branch out and try maybe a headset or some external speakers or even a microphone. But you definitely don't have to have anything special when you get started. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that comes up with a big sigh of relief for many teachers. It's like, oh, okay, I don't need to go and buy, because sometimes we are watching almost too many how to teach online resources. And, one of the things I learned many years ago, I was working with a lot of coaches at that time. It was sort of when coaching was just sort of the new kid on the block. And after a while, I sort of had one favorite that was really resonating with me and another one who was not so much. And she said to me, and I'll never forget, this was a lesson to me. And she said, Glory, who is your coach? Like, who is your teacher? Do all your piano students have 5 different teachers? And I went, no. And she said, well, then why are you having 5 different coaches? And it really, I had the aha moment. And as I was doing the coaching call last night with our Ultimate Music Theory certified teachers and getting them all set up with a bunch of things, and I said to them, remember this, that when you are starting to teach online, like just follow one system, just have one coach that you're working with or one person, and just take those baby steps, because otherwise everything is a shiny object and you think, well, she's doing it better, he's doing it better, they've got better technology, and then you get nothing done because you're just crazy. So just pick one. You know, you can pick us. We're fun.
Yes. We're very fun.
Melody and Glory show. But one of the things, and we've actually got some really fun tips for you. So Roland says, oh, I'm rolling and watching now from the Philippines. Yay. Pat says, so you plug in your external mic into your laptop? Yes, Pat, yeah. That is exactly what we do. Christopher says, I've got the blue. Yay. Using it for some singles. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So we've got a few other little things that I think are going to be fun. So Melody, let's talk about ear training. So now, you know, we've done the lessons. We're kind of giving them the whole complete package here. So we talked about that, the piano part, but what about ear training? And what are some fun things that we can do?
Well, I have a really, really simple ear training activity that you can do starting with your very, very youngest students. And so I'll turn around this way and imagine that I'm your teacher online right now. And I might say something as simple as, whatever my student's name, Glory, where is your right hand? You know, we may still be struggling right hand, left hand. This may be 6 or 7 years old. Yes. Hold up your right hand. Where's your finger 1?
Right.
And then she finds her finger 1. Put your right hand 1 on C. Yeah. So we find middle C. Let's do middle C. Right. And then I would say, I'm going to play. You have to be very specific with your instructions so they know exactly what to expect. I would say, I'm going to play 3 notes, and then you're going to copy me. After I play the 3 notes, then it's your turn. So now it's my turn. And then I would say, and now it's your turn. So then the student would just copy me. I would make sure they couldn't see my hand, so they're not just copying it by watching my fingers, because they'll do that.
Yeah,
But we would do that back and forth several times, and then I would expand it a little bit, maybe 4 notes, maybe 5 notes, but it just depends on, you can do steps and skips with that. You can do articulation, change the dynamics, put it in a different octave. There are just so many ways that you can do that. And with the little ones, you could use this activity to reinforce something that they've just learned in their lesson book that day. So that would be a wonderful way to do ear training. And you could do a similar activity as this. The sky's really the limit. Do a similar activity like that with your older, more advanced students.
Absolutely. And
just see what happens when it's their turn. They're probably going to try and outdo you. So make sure your training is on par with what's going on here, because they are really going to try to outdo you a little bit. But that's a really, really simple, basic ear training activity that the sky's the limit, really.
Right. And I think one of the things that you and I, talked about in our conversations this week was, all of a sudden we're open to doing things differently, and we can expand these activities now to engage in teaching things like changing the articulation and the dynamics and the key. And I know yesterday when I was teaching my online students, I then challenged them. We were working actually on theory, and I have them always play, we do written work, and then I have them play, and they use those books as sight reading activities. And so I thought, well, I know I'm going to be chatting with you today, and you had shared with me your ideas. I thought, I'm going to try that. And they actually loved it. And we did I'll play it, you play it back. And then can you change that? Can you play those staccato? What does staccato mean? Can you play it legato? Can you play it higher, lower? So those are brilliant ideas. And you probably have never done that in a lesson, or maybe you have. But now that you're teaching online, all of a sudden you got to come up with some new and creative ideas, right?
Right. And some things that the students can do independently of you being right there. So the listening activity is just a great way to do that, and just incorporate that into the lessons, whether you previously had or previously hadn't. I mean, it's a great and easy activity. Doesn't require any special equipment or any prep or anything. So I think it's a wonderful way to incorporate your training into your online lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this idea so much. And especially when we think of those younger ones, you're almost pre-teaching articulation and dynamics and tonality, right? Because it's just ear training through playing games. And I like to play games with my students from time to time. So what can we do if we're having our online lessons and we still want to keep it fun?
The sky is the limit. And I've just got to say, I belong to some of the piano teacher groups on Facebook. Gloria, I know you are in some of those groups too. And a lot of you who are listening probably are too. But I have just been blown away this week by the creativity of teachers on making these lessons fun and engaging online, even when they have never taught online before until this week. So congratulations to all of you teachers who are doing a wonderful job. I mean, I was absolutely just astounded and blown away. It was very good for me to see that so many teachers are stepping up and working extra hard during this crazy time of our lives to keep things going for their students. So I think that's just wonderful. So I wrote a blog post earlier this week about activities that you can do during your online lessons to supplement. And a lot of us like using apps, and we'll talk about those in just a second. But one of the things that is a lot of fun and it can be used with any age student is a social media practicing challenge. So right now, with everyone being involved in social distancing and having to stay home, I know that's probably really difficult for all of you extroverts out there. Now, me, total introvert, I've been fine. But with social distancing, if we can get our students and their parents interacting with each other on social media, that can help talk up the piano lessons and give them something to do that's a lot of fun. So a lot of us, like we already said, are on Facebook or maybe another social media like Instagram. So what you would do to run this challenge is just choose how many days you want to have it. You could have it for a week, 3 days, 14 days, whatever you need. And then have your students post a really short video of themselves practicing piano every day during the challenge. You could choose a fun hashtag for your studio, hashtag social distancing practice challenge, or hashtag social media practice challenge, hashtag 2020 practice challenge, whatever you want to call it. But that would be so much fun. And they could do that. Their parents, if they're not old enough to use social media, then their parents could upload the short video to the parents' social media. If you have a Piano Studio Facebook page for your families, then they could upload it there and share the videos with one another or to Instagram. Or if you don't want to use the social media aspect of it, totally not necessary. Just have the parents text the video directly to you. And you could do different themes. If you wanted to do several practice challenges back to back, you could do maybe a scales practice challenge. You could do maybe a genre practice challenge or specific theme, like everyone is going to play a song about whatever it is, about springtime. So that's a really fun thing that you could do to engage the students and their families with what's going on in piano lessons. So as for apps, my two favorites are Note Rush and Flash Note Derby. And if you're not familiar with those, I encourage you to go familiarize yourself with them right now because I think they're both fantastic. So, but if your student is having the lesson on their iPad, then they might need to wait until after the lesson to play those games so that the iPad can be free from the lesson. But one thing you can do is if you have your iPad for the lesson, you could actually hold your iPad up to the screen and then the student can tell you the answer. So you can play the game that way very, very easily. We did that with Note Rush this week on FaceTime, because if there is a way to screen share through FaceTime, I'm completely not aware of it. So if there is, somebody, please write to me and let me know. But I held up my iPad to the screen like that, and then made sure my student could see it. And then as the game played, then the student was playing the notes on her piano, and then my iPad could hear her sound. So she was actually playing the game through, the internet. And there was no screen sharing, nothing complicated. I just held my iPad up to my camera and she went for it. And it was really, really fun. So that's one way to keep your iPad games going. And a more advanced way, and Gloria, you can tell us all about this because you use Zoom, is to share your iPad screen through Zoom.
Right. And another thing, just talking about the apps, when you are working with students that are in, say, the prep level, basic, intermediate, and advanced level, they can also use the Ultimate Music Theory app. And the Ultimate Music Theory app is just it's a one-time, download. It has all the levels on it, so you don't have to, keep going depending on what your level is. But it also has the audio, so they can actually play the Ultimate Music Theory app, and it is web-based, so you can use it for PC or Mac. It can go on your iPad or whatever you need. So I think that that's really something that would be a fun game to play. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because if you are doing a Zoom meeting and you want to share your screen, and for example, you're using the Ultimate Music Theory app, your students can see it and they can hear it. And it actually covers not only note naming, but also rhythm. It goes through all of the levels, music history, all that stuff. So it's a really, really amazing platform for online learning. And it's something they can do in the back of the car or sitting at home. So I think we really want to reach out to kids and say, here's it, rather than just playing video games, why don't you learn something, right? So
right. I think that would be wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's fun. So we've kind of gone through the lesson. We know what we want to see their hands. I did kind of the same thing that you did when I was setting up. I told parents, I need to see their hands. I need to see the piano keys, and I want to see their face. So just having it there, use a TV tray, or as you said, pile up a bunch of boxes, like whatever you need, so we can kind of see them. We've got the music. We can do the screen share. We've got some apps. We can engage in some play. So now one question that teachers have often asked me is if they're, doing their homework, how can I mark my students' homework? So for one, I have a few options for you. So first is simply to ask the student to read off their answers. So now we're just talking specifically about theory. I think I brought I did too. Okay. I have my answer books here. So simply ask students to read their answers and then just say if it's correct or incorrect. And then if it needs an explanation, I simply use the whiteboard here, and then I just write it out just as I would be teaching actually in a class. So that's the Ultimate Music Theory whiteboard. You can access those on our website. I guess the second thing is to show students the correct way to complete the question by simply showing them your answer book. So I literally will say to a student who says perhaps, oh, I'm not sure how to do that. Then I would just I'm just going to kind of pull up a page here, and I would maybe just show them, that way, and say, there's the answers. Did you understand that? Oh, Miss Glory, I got this, this question wrong. And I'd say, okay, well, let's work through it on the whiteboard. So it still is a way that I can see their answers. And the third thing, and you and I have talked about this quite a bit today, Melody, is that do a screen share of a PDF that has the answer pages on it so that they can see an example of how to complete the exercise. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to share was that there are free resources on Ultimate Music Theory to help you teach online. So now you've got a few tips for, how are you going to teach online? How are you going to set it up? How are you going to mark their books? But now we need to talk about lighting.
Yes, lighting.
Melody, what type of lighting do we need? Because it's one thing, and we talked about if you can't see your student, but now you can. So if you want to have a clear picture, what kind of lighting could we use?
Well, the most important thing is to remember that you don't have to go buy anything.
Right.
And my studio has a pretty small window, and my neighborhood has lots of really big trees. So natural light just does not make it into this room. So I have to light this room, which you can tell it looks very well lit, but I've got lamps and ceiling fixtures, and I've actually got a ring light right in front of my face right now. Yeah. But you can really greatly improve the aspect of your online lessons just with some well-placed lighting. Yeah. So when I'm teaching lessons online, I want to always make sure that where the direction I'm facing, that the lamps in that direction are all turned on so they shine on my face.
Right.
And you want to make sure that any lamps back here behind me are turned off so they don't create glare into the camera. And you'll I do have a lamp back there right now that's turned off because I didn't want it glaring in your face. But I also have lamps over here turned on so that it will light everything and make everything look well lit and as clear as possible. So don't go run off and buy lots of things. Just look around your house, maybe for a lamp that you don't use often, and put it where it can shine on your face. And ask your students to do the same. And that will create a much better viewing experience for both you and your students.
Yes. And I think too, when you're having the students set it up for the first time too, you can also share that those ideas with the parents, so that when they come into the next call, they'll be ready to go. Now I'm going to kind of segue to a few. We've got some comments and things coming in here. I'll see if I can switch. I've got so many screens open here. Christopher just says, yep, suddenly we're just doing things differently. Yeah, we absolutely are. External camera question, what is the power source for that? External, that's a USB as well. We're suddenly open to doing things, new things. Yeah, I have a paper keyboard on my whiteboard and use magnets. Oh, that's a good idea too. You can actually just use like a paper, actually in the Ultimate Music Theory free resources, you can download staff paper, you can download keyboards, you can download the Circle of Fifths. There's all kinds of free resources there, so that if your students just need to, like, well, I don't even have anything, just go download it and you can teach the lesson using your whiteboard, and they can go ahead and have that. So we did see another question here for you. Note Rush, what was the other one? Question for you, Melanie.
Flash Note Derby.
Flash Note Derby. Thank you.
Yes, it's like the Kentucky Derby. It's a little horse race across the screen for really young kids. It's great. Yes, it's good. And at Christmas time, the horses turn into reindeer. So
that's so
love it.
That's so cute. Pat says, have you found a way to use screen share on Zoom? Yes, Pat, you can use screen share on Zoom. Flash Note Derby. Jenny says, when you're in the call, can you choose to share your screen via the device you're using or some other device of technology? I use my laptop and sometimes use my phone to share screen. Okay, so Jenny, when you are using, and I'm just going to speak on the Zoom part, and actually Skype because I use both. And then I'll let Melody address the PC side of things. So you're in your device. So I'll just talk about FaceTime or Zoom and Skype because they're both the same. You see each other, you hear each other, you can share your screen on both devices. You can also have a chat box open, which is kind of like what we're doing right now with our Facebook Live. You can have your chat box open. You can also drag files in there. So if I have a student who says, I can't find my worksheet, I can say, well, 1 second, and I'll go to the Ultimate Music Theory free resources. I'll just pull that, the download onto my computer, and then I just drag it in and poof, she has it on her computer. So those are really cool. And then she doesn't have to go look for anything. It's just like, well, it's right there. The other thing that you can do is if you decide that you want to type out the lesson just on a Word doc while you're in the lesson with your student, you can take that Word doc, just drag it into Zoom or Skype, and boom, they have the Word doc. So now they have their homework. So hopefully that answered your question. I use a laptop and sometimes my phone. So as far as apps at home, what if parents don't want them to have daily screen time? Well, then I don't know. they have to do something. Those kids are going to get bored. Then they can go practice their piano lesson.
That's right.
So did you want to add something else to that, Melody, about how they can about sharing your screen? You don't need to have two devices and a whole bunch of things open. You can just do everything on one. Is that what you do?
Right. And it would work the same way on a Mac through Zoom and Skype as it does on a PC. So the things you already said about that on a PC would work the same for Mac. And like I said a few minutes ago, if anyone knows how to screen share in FaceTime, please let me know. That is something that I have not Googled to check out. But I will be after this. I did learn how to use multiple cameras with FaceTime, but I don't know how to screen share yet. So we'll see if we can figure that one out.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea too. And I think, if you set up your first online lesson with your student, I think you can also help them just adjust, where they're going to put their computer, where they're going to, or iPad, whatever it might be. Also, how they can have the best lighting, and all of this is available without purchasing anything. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, we don't need to get scared. I think sometimes we're just like, well, I don't want to spend any money right now. I need to buy groceries, and I don't know how my students are going to, continue with me online. So let's just, use that KISS method. Keep it super simple. So if you've never taught online lessons before, what is the cost of doing online lessons? And the answer is
$0. It doesn't have to cost you anything. If you already have a computer or a tablet with a webcam and high-speed internet at your home, or even if you have a phone and you want to do lessons over the phone with your students, you don't have to spend money to teach online lessons. And on the other hand, though, you can spend as much as you want to if you want to really expand your setup and make it incredible with professional recording software, professional microphones and webcams and all these things. But it doesn't have to cost a penny more than you've already spent on your equipment to get started. So keep it simple. That's what we keep talking about today, is just keep it simple. Just get it going. And once you get it going, then if you want to expand things or try a new camera or try a new microphone, then at that point, once you feel comfortable incorporating that, then you can do that. But at first, keep it simple. It'll keep it simple for everybody.
Yes, and I think that's the great thing too. And again, if you're using those platforms of Zoom or Skype, it doesn't matter if you're on a PC and your student is on a Mac or vice versa. Like it just is all the same. We talked a little bit about just dragging in some folders and things, but what is maybe one way of how we can send assignments to our students when we're not actually having their book available for us?
Well, I would say if you like to write your students' assignments in a notebook as you teach, you can still do that. Just take a picture of it with your phone and text it to the student when you're done. So you can carry on the exact same way that you have been up to this point, if that's your preferred way to share assignments. And with your older students, they can become comfortable writing their own assignments if you guide them a little bit through the process to get them used to it. And that can give them more ownership over their lessons and practice sessions. So having your students write the assignment would be a great way, especially for the older students.
Yeah, I totally agree, Melody. Sometimes I find it's better if students write their own homework assignment down, because then I know they've at least read it once.
Yes.
Depending on their age, of course. I remember my teacher never wrote anything in my notebook in all my years of lessons with her. Even as I was finishing my ARCT, she never wrote anything. She said it was my responsibility to take detailed notes of what I was working on for the next lesson. And also, little fun fact here: did you know that when you write things down, you retain 30 to 40% more information? It's why we write down our grocery list. It's why we write down our friend's phone number, because we might remember it because we've written it down and we kind of see it. Or you get to the grocery store and you think, okay, I remember writing this down. I wrote down 4 things on the list, bread, milk, butter, and oh my God, let me think about the list. So it's really important to write things down. So I encourage my students, if they're at that age. I had a little one yesterday and she's like, no, Miss Glory, I'll write it myself. And I'm like, oh, this is going to take half the lesson,
Right.
But she was really keen on doing that, So I think that's important for them to really write it down. What are some of the other things that you use, Melody?
Well, I use an online studio management system called My Music Staff, which you may have heard of or seen mentioned in some of our Facebook groups that we're all in together. And I use it for my studio calendar and sync it with my calendar on my devices so that it pushes the information out when I have lessons. I use it for invoicing, expenses and revenue, mileage. And I also use it for typing piano lesson assignments. So you can use, there's a part of it called notes. And you can just type in the student notes, and there's a little button at the bottom or a little checkbox at the bottom. And when you're done, you just tap that button and it emails the assignment directly to the student's parent. So it's a really, really simple way. If you use My Music Staff and you haven't taken advantage of this particular part of it, then I would highly recommend just checking into it because it's really, really easy.
Yeah, I have a funny story to share with you. So I have this one student. young boy who is a little bit of a comedian, has a little bit. He's just a really fun guy, and I know he's not reading his homework pages that I am writing. So I thought, okay, I'm going to play a little trick on him, and so I wrote a little note in his book for him. And then when he left, I, closed the book and I handed it to him. And Jeremy is his name. And I said, okay, Jeremy, so when you come to class next week, like, don't forget, you're going to read your notes that I wrote for you. And then you promise me, like pinky promise, yeah, I'll read my notes, and you'll do everything that's in your notebook, correct? Like, we did it all in class, but you got it. He goes, yes, Miss Gloria, I got it. I said, okay, great. So next week, Jeremy comes to his lesson. And there's a $20 bill on the piano, and it says Jeremy, and he's like, you're giving me $20? I am. I said, so, what is your answer to the question? And now I've got his notebook, right? And he said, what question? And I said, oh, well, I was giving you $20 today. You just had to answer that question. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, didn't we do a pinky promise that you were going to? And he said, yeah. He goes, well, let me see my book. I said, deal is off. So I took the $20 back and I opened up his book. And inside his book, I had written, if you bring me a joke next week, I'll give you $20. And so, the following week he said, oh, Miss Gloria, I have a joke for you. And I said, too late, but anyway, we had a lot of fun. I've done that a few times. And then, he was kind of, after that, he's like, pinky promise, I'll read my book. I said, okay, but like, there's no $20 bill here. But for a while, it was, it's kind of fun. And I think when we follow up with email to parents, I think it's really helpful too, because now they realize, that way parents have some ownership too, that they know this assignment is what you assigned to them, and it indicates that. And sometimes to add that little bonus, as I said, so I have a little question for you. What is Beethoven's favorite fruit?
Beethoven's favorite fruit?
Yes.
I don't know. What is Beethoven's favorite fruit, Glory?
Banana.
That's awesome.
So anyway, I don't know. I think one of the things that we've shared today, Melody, is obviously we've created a lot of resources, and you have a lot of resources for teachers as well. So how can we learn more about you and all the downloadable resources and just kind of connect with all these materials?
Well, my website is melodypayne.com, and I have a blog there that has several recent articles that I've posted about teaching music lessons online. So feel free to go and browse there. I have a shop there, melodypayne.com/shop. And I have some resources in my shop, as well as in my shop at Teachers Pay Teachers. And each one of those resources that you purchase includes a studio license, which means that you can share it with all of your students directly. And as you're teaching online right now, you are allowed to email those resources directly to your students. So you can email it, or if they have their own personal Dropbox or personal Google Drive, or your personal Dropbox or personal Google Drive, then you could share it directly with that student that way, as long as the student and the parent are the only people who are receiving access to it. But in addition to my stores, there are just tons of wonderful resources out there. And a lot of people have been sharing great things in our Facebook groups. But do check the terms of use on each resource, though, because I know that not all resources allow them to be emailed or shared on Dropbox or anything like that. So double check that, because we want to make sure that we do get the right resources in your hands that you will be able to use.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Melody, for your wisdom and the joy that you brought to our viewers today, and obviously the resources. Melody Payne, so it's Melody, which we know how to spell, and Payne is Payne. Yes. So I just wanted to clarify that .com. So remember to join the Ultimate Music Theory Facebook group, where you can connect with Dr. Melody Payne and many other educators and teachers that are all in the same boat looking for these resources. You can also watch all of the other interviews that we do at ultimatemusictheory.com, and many, many video resources on our Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel. So please join us there. And I just want to say thank you again. Melody's going to come into the chat box later on today and put the actual links in there so that you can just click on them, and I'll add a few as well. Ultimate Music Theory free resources. And it's just been a blast. I'm so glad that we got to do this today. It was really fun, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of our viewers. And we just wish you all the best with teaching online. And in closing, Melody, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I just want to say it has been a blast being here today and hanging out with you for this time, Glory. And to all you teachers out there, I hope that something we've said has sparked some confidence and ideas so that more of you can go ahead and take the plunge to move your studios fully online. And just remember, everything is figure outable. You can do this. You can do this. And we're here to help you if you need some help. So just get in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Remember, use the KISS method. Keep it super simple. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.